You know how they say that when you have a physical hurt, just band-aid करके hospital लेके जाओ या band-aid करके
Hmm.
doctor के पास लेके जाओ. We can all be that band-aid. You don't need
True.
to be a
100%.
certified therapist to be that band-aid. Put that band-aid and then take them to the help that they need.
Hmm. True. 100%. We can at least be first aid, if not the professional doctor. Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of Thakkar show. Today we have Aanchal Jain ma'am. She is pastoral care coordinator at Aditya Birla World Academy. She is also founder of Yana Counselling and Care. She is also counseling psychologist and SEL educator. It's an honor to have you on the show, ma'am.
Thank you, Jay. It's an honor to be on your show as well.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So, ma'am, talking about psychology and especially the mental health, the area in which you are currently working in, so how it is perceived nowadays?
So actually, let me just first define what mental health per se means. You know, it's not only the psychological well-being, but mental health also includes emotional and social well-being. And it kind of impacts the way we think, feel, behave. And I think post-pandemic, at least the awareness in terms of mental health has definitely been higher. As a country, I think we are talking a lot more about it. In fact, because we are in the month of October and on 10th October, we have the World Mental Health Day. I think the WHO's campaign also, which talks about make mental health and well-being for all a global priority, is something that is talked about, and there is a lot of awareness campaigns and things like that. You know, and also like mental health is actually it's a continuum. There is something called as mental wellness and then something called as mental illness. And a lot of us are actually in the middle of that. And what has happened in the past 2 years is we've spoken a lot about mental wellness. You know, so meditate, take time off, engage in some me time activities. These are all the things which we have spoken about. We have said talk to people, call them up, at least have one video call a day. All of these are practices which would help us in moving towards mental wellness. And we've also kind of noticed a surge in people taking help for mental illness, which is something I think which is a positive shift. But I do think there is a long way for us to go there because, you know, very interestingly, it takes about 6 to 7 years for a person to actually seek professional help for mental health concerns. So they first identify it, and then by the time they actually take help, that's the gap. And I think that's something that's huge. And if we can attend to mental illnesses or concerns at a much earlier time, then the prognosis and the interventions will be more fruitful. So yeah, I think people are talking positively about it. They are taking an effort, and I'm happy to say that yes, there are multiple counselors now available, and I'm talking more from India, more from the Mumbai perspective, because I do know other parts of the country there is a lot of work that needs to be done.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, all our slots are getting filled, and that's a good space.
True, 100%. So, ma'am, like you said that you are much more aware about the Mumbai and not about rest of India. And talking the rest of India, because India is one of the most diverse country in the world. We have like the diversity changes at a few hundred kilometers in our country.
Right.
So, how does the treatment of mental illness, like when we talk about depression, anxiety, when we talk about therapy, counseling sessions, how does that methodology changes with change in geographical areas of this country especially?
So I think as a counselor, primarily what changes is understanding the beliefs and the cultural attunement of the client. Because if I'm working with a client, say from the southern part of the country, then their cultural expectations, the norm, the societal ideas, belief
Hmm.
systems, value systems, those are things that I need to be aware of as a counselor really well. I
Hmm.
also need to be self-aware of my own biases, my own attitudes, my own view about things, and not kind of let them interfere in the therapy process.
Hmm.
So, with I think the basic core of counseling skills doesn't really change, but to build that connect, to bring in a space of trust, non-judgment, congruence, empathy, to build in all of those things which are essential in a counseling relationship. It is important that the counselor is culturally aware uh, of a lot of things. In fact, a lot of it would also mean in terms of availability of resources. Like in Mumbai, I can say that there are support groups for depression or anxiety, but I may not be able to say the same thing for a smaller city like Nasik. So when I have a
Hmm.
client from Nasik, then I have to have the resources available in their geographical location to support them better.
Hmm.
But I think with the advent of everything moving online, uh, things have become slightly better. But even then, there have been instances where people feel that a counselor who's more culturally from the same location can do a better job than somebody who's completely placed differently. Like there are
Hmm.
a couple of Indian clients who stay abroad but prefer to have an Indian counselor rather than seek therapy in their own country. So
Hmm.
I have a couple of them in Australia, in US, who would prefer, even with the changed time zones, and they want to work around the fact that you're an Indian counselor and you understand where I come from better.
Hmm. True.
Yeah.
And also it like when we talk about having person with a lot of similarity in the culture we follow, it makes the person, I feel, a little bit more comfortable, rather than, because the level of understanding becomes much better than, because there's if we talk about, like you said, an Indian person who is living abroad needs an Indian counselor. It's because the way of expression is majorly in Hindi, let's say, because and that makes person more easily open to express what they want, and they can also feel that they are being understood much better, rather than they have to convert everything in English and talking to someone from their locality where they stay.
So actually, Jay, very surprisingly, the language of Hindi and a lot of regional languages
Mm-hmm.
actually don't have terminologies for mental health issues. So
Mm-hmm.
that's also like a topic that we've spoken about a few times. Whereas if I have to describe depression or anxiety in Hindi, I myself don't know the terminology.
Oh.
So that also plays a huge role. And we've noticed that, especially in the rural parts of the country, or where people use the regional language more than English as
Mm-hmm.
a prominent space, the counseling relationship is very, very different
Mm-hmm.
because the diagnosis is not as well understood. And a lot of our terminologies are based out of Western culture, right?
Mm,
So
true.
I think that also kind of somewhere plays a role where,
Mm,
yes, the comfort, I think, with a counselor who's from a similar background or a little bit of the same, understands your culture or your belief system better, it just
mm-hmm.
means that you don't have to say that much more in therapy, and a lot of things are explicitly understood,
Mm,
right?
true. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that could be like a space, but of course, more and more therapists are now reaching that space where you read and and you understand, and you learn more about these things so that you're able to provide the help that you need to the people. And this is especially true for minorities. It's
Mm,
especially true for people identifying with different sexualities, because then you need a little more specific kind of intervention when you're dealing with
mm,
specific groups of people, right? So
True.
um, so yeah.
And ma'am, I have this one question. Like, even I have also created content related to self-help or mental wellness, so as to say. And even this podcast has been ranked in self-improvement category. So
Hmm.
my question is that how can one understand that till a certain level I personally, as an individual, have the capacity to deal with such state of mind, and after a certain point, I need to counsel therapist. So how can one understand that difference, and at what point I need counseling to help me with my state of mind?
I think for me, one of the major spaces to look out would be when whatever you're doing you feel is not working, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I think additionally, it's important to kind of go to a therapist when you know that you're not able to be yourself, you're noticing a shift in who you are and how you perceive things to be. Um, a lot of us engage, for example, in journaling, or we start yoga and
Mm-hmm.
meditation. But then, what counseling does, it helps you address the core issues or the core spaces or the core thought processes that
Mm-hmm.
you have, right? And as soon as I realized that I'm spiraling and I'm just thinking of the same thing in the same manner, and I'm not able to bring in a new perspective. Um, and I need a space which is non-judgmental, where I don't feel threatened by what the person is going to think about me. Is a space where you can see a counselor. It's like, कि अगर एक दिन बुखार है, 2 दिन बुखार है, तो प्रोसेस से हो जाएगा. But as soon as 3 दिन से ज़्यादा हो गया, I need the antibiotic, then that is when you go to a doctor, right?
True.
So you try your self-help techniques, which is definitely important, because your individual resilience, your individual ability to cope with situations has to be there. Even in therapy, I'm not going to change anything. It is your individual work that is going to make the shift. You can come to me for 10 sessions, but if you don't take anything back into your personal life and into your personal space, therapy is not going to work. So a therapeutic relationship, I think the best analogy for me to say what a therapist does is, a therapist is just a mirror. It just reflects exactly what is inside of you. It just it's a space which gives you a different perspective. It's also a space where you talk without thinking, right?
True.
And I think that makes the difference, because you're here because you know that I'm not able to do something, and this is a space which will give me help. And I think that is what makes it different than anything else. That whole acceptance that, okay, I'm here because I want to make a change, and she's or he is here to support me make that change. So
True. And I also feel that we as a society, like you'll be a much qualified person to answer this, but I have this thought that we as a society are like the reason for increasing mental illness is one of the major reason is because we as a society are getting more and more judgmental, as the things are getting very fast. What I need, I can get from just one or two clicks on my phone, and that makes me get things done, that makes me think less and just perceive it in one or two answers, like black and white things. If a person is telling me something, I won't think empathetically as by putting my feet in their shoes. I'll just think, okay, this is because XYZ or ABC, and I'll just move on with that. So like what changes do you feel as society we can bring in to reduce the mental illness cases?
I'm going to largely blame it on social media, because that's where all the instant gratification lies. That's where the click of a button makes you not feel what you're feeling and allows you to numb it. That's also what makes you feel that you're not doing well in life, because all you see is the happy lives of other people, the successes, The stories, the number of likes, even a simple ice cream can be glorified and put up. So I think a lot of challenges that come our way are largely because of the usage of social media starting at a very young age. The whole idea of being with myself has totally gone, because being with myself means being on my phone,
True.
right? So
Yeah.
so I think one of the things that one can consciously do is that digital detox that we talk about. 1 hour a day, which is gadget free, where you're engaging in something that you enjoy doing, something that helps you stay in touch with your inner self. You know what also happens, Jay, honestly, is that the social media increases impulsivity. So you're just acting. You know how Twitter goes, tuck, 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 one response, and then the next, and the next, and the next. And suddenly you're like, oh, it's a big controversy, right? So the time to pause and think and respond rather than react is also something that happens over time, right? So people are moving towards that. I think a lot of people are now making a conscious effort, especially after the past 2 years. But I also think that the past 2 years we've spent a lot more time on social media because that's all we had as entertainment.
True.
So this way or that, I mean, everybody became an overnight chef because we had to post on Insta how constructively we are using this free time. We had to post about all the books which we were supposedly reading, you know. So a lot of these things play a role in how we view our day-to-day activities and our day-to-day life. And that eventually impacts the way we feel about who we are, where we belong, where we stand, which could be a factor which leads to mental health challenges, right? It begins with that internalized thought that I'm not good enough or I'm not doing as well as the others. So somewhere that, and of course, the pandemic, the loneliness, the isolation, all of those were added factors because of which there is an increase. The whole idea of having to shut myself in a room if you've had to do the quarantine for that many days, a lot of those things have brought up higher cases of anxiety and depression. In fact, I think panic disorder has gone on a rise. Especially when I'm working with the student community, exams lead to panic attacks, and these are full-blown panic attacks that we are now seeing because of the pressure of performance, right? Earlier it was about showing what you're performing. Now it's actually performing, which is kind of slightly different. But these are things which are leading to more challenges. So yeah, I hope that answers what you were trying to ask.
Completely, ma'am. On the better side of the social media also helped us in spreading more awareness to tier 2, tier 3 cities where internet is currently penetrating, and also the lockdown has helped us penetrating the internet. The rate of penetration of internet in India has gone very high. So how can we use this penetration and different ways in spreading awareness of mental wellness to, let's say, rural parts of India or towns and villages of India?
So definitely a lot of awareness campaigns. I think advertisements by leaders, political leaders, as well as I would say people from the film industry, because they make a real impact in the rural India. But when they speak about their mental illness or they speak about causes which can support mental wellness for people, I think that can make a huge difference. I also think a lot of campaigns can be organized where we are doing a lot of work where we are saying that it's okay to have a mental health illness and it's okay to take help. And while I think, Jay, honestly speaking, some amount of awareness has been spread, I think what's also lacking is the fact that there are no qualified professionals available in parts of the country to even do this.
True.
So even if I know that I have depression, I may not know where to go to take help,
True.
right? And that is also something that we need to speak about.
Hmm.
I think
True.
largely if the medical board were to train every MBBS doctor to at least be a mental health first aider, then that
Hmm.
would make a huge difference because I don't know of any psychiatrist who practices in the rural part of Maharashtra, except for
Hmm.
maybe a visit,
Hmm.
right? Or I
Hmm.
don't know if any counselors working in those spaces and are available 24/7.
Hmm.
So
True.
they are more like social workers who go in, help you with a cause and come back, right?
Hmm.
But
True.
I think the systemic change needs to really happen for us to be able to reach out to
Hmm.
those areas. But I must say that the mental health helplines in this space are doing a great job because now mental health is accessible on phone, right? And some of these helplines are toll free, which means that you can call up for free.
Yeah.
Uh, and one of the initiatives of the Aditya Birla Group was also is also a mental health helpline, and we had seen a
Hmm.
surge in the number of people reaching out to us from rural parts of the country.
Wow.
So that is something that says that they also need help and they are aware that they need help, but they probably don't
Hmm.
have the required resources.
True.
So that's also what we can look at. In fact, I'm very elated to also share that we have developed a program which is called Minds Matter, which is a school run initiative where we have trained teachers from rural parts of the country to speak about mental health in the classroom because that's where the youth are, right? That's where we are going to make
Hmm.
the shift.
True.
So we've had teachers from such remote parts. I mean, we've had somebody from Renukot. I don't know if you've even heard of this place.
Hmm.
But schools signing up with us to run a curriculum which is across school from grade 1 to grade 10, where we are talking about
Wow.
mental health literacy, where we are talking about social emotional learning. So that's
Hmm.
also something that can be done, working with schools, working with educational institutes to bring about change, to destigmatize help seeking behavior. These are different things that we could look at.
Wow, that's great, ma'am. So, ma'am, in this journey of counseling, of being counseling psychologist, what has that journey been, and what are the major learnings which you can share with us?
I think it's actually just been about learning and learning and learning more. And every few months, I feel, oh, I'm not so good at this part of the counseling thing. I need to look into this, and then from being somebody who always wanted to work in the educational setup. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and luckily having a space where I am literally I have the freedom to bring in as much awareness on mental health as I can.
Mm-hmm.
I think uh, I think it's important to not only limit it to your own self, and I think that's what I've done in the past 2 years, even being a part of this curriculum and engaging in teacher training and engaging in developing the entire curriculum has actually kind of taught me that like mental health is not just about taking care of a certain set of things. It's also bringing in those system changes. It's also looking at what can I do more and how can I
Mm-hmm.
support more. And it's constantly that. So lately, I mean, in the past 6-8 months, in fact, I've done 2 more trainings because now we have the whole gender spectrum to look at when you're working with youth and suicide prevention, because we've seen a rise in the number of suicide instances in our country. um, and these are very important conversations to hold. So
True.
um, I think what I've realized is people love talking to counselors. As soon as they hear that you're a counselor, they just want to know more
Yeah.
because
True.
I think there are very few people who talk about mental well-being, who talk about mental health,
Mm-hmm.
and to say that I'm here and I'm just here for whatever you need. I think that's important for everyone to tell others. You don't need to be a trained psychologist to do that. You just need
Hmm.
to be somebody with a listening ear, with an empathetic heart, to say that I'm
True.
here. And if I don't know how to help you, there is somebody available, and I can just be
True.
that person to take you there. So,
100%.
uh, so I think my role has been to create more people who can help and support mental well-being,
Hmm.
right from training my teachers to friends to just talking to as many people as possible and telling them that, listen, if I'm here, you're here too. If I can do it, you can do it too.
True.
So
100%.
yeah.
And like when you said that to just initially help others, we don't need to be certified counseling. And because I had this idea in my mind, and I started problem solving sessions on one of the social community applications, and
Okay.
there I received a lot of people with their personal problems, and they were like, uh, the main thing which I learned there is not that I should always have answers to their problems, but it is that I just ask them enough questions that all the instability or all the problems they have inside, they can at least let them out, so that they can feel a little more lighter.
So ideally, Jay, that little therapist in us exists in all of us, where we all want to
True.
help the other person. Sometimes we don't have the skill set required for a certain type of problem or a
Hmm.
certain type of condition, and that's where you also need to have the awareness as an individual that I am not an expert on this, but
Hmm.
one of the roles that I can play is connect you to someone who is an expert.
True.
And
100%.
I think if all of us individually take that space to have a listening ear, to have an empathetic heart, and to say that I'm here for you and I'm here to take you wherever you need to go, I think that's a great space to be in. So, reading about this, having the awareness yourself, understanding the signs and symptoms, which are
Hmm.
very subtle in a few cases, right,
True.
is important, because a lot of us, in our own ways, will always say that I need help. Hey, can you
Hmm.
just hear me out?
True.
I don't need solutions. I just need somebody to listen to me. And you will
Yeah.
hear this. A lot of people are saying this, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes they share this at spaces where you don't even have. I mean, like you said, it came up on a social media platform with you because there was an aspect of anonymity perhaps that people could
Yeah.
maintain. And that allows for people to share it. And
True.
they're always looking for that person who can help them out. I think all of us are always looking for the person who can help us out. And each of us
True.
can become that. You know how they say that when you have a physical hurt, just band-aid करके hospital लेके जाओ या band-aid करके
Hmm.
doctor के पास लेके जाओ. We can all be that band-aid. You
Hmm.
don't need
True.
to be a
100%.
certified therapist to be that band-aid. Put that band-aid and then take them to the help that they need.
Hmm. True. 100%. We can at least be first aid, if not the professional doctor.
Yes, for sure.
100%, ma'am. So, how was this conversation?
I think it was lovely because I love talking about mental health all the time, and I think having being able to share with others what I feel, and I think most importantly the fact that we are talking about this and we all truly believe that this is something we need to look at is
Hmm.
important, and I think if mental health for all is the goal, then together we will all reach there.
True. 100%. So, thank you so much, ma'am, for coming on this podcast. I really hope that we can have more conversations on mental health and different topics, so that we can make our audience aware about multiple aspects of what mental health brings to us.
Thank you so much, Jay. It was lovely talking to you, and I hope that the the listeners and the viewers enjoy the show, and I'm hoping to be back again whenever you want to invite me.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Jay.